It is my joy to bring greetings to you from Catawba College, an institution of higher education related to the United Church of Christ. On Friday evening, I sat at dinner with a former student and with a young man who serves as the minister of youth for a large congregation in Connecticut. And as we talked about a variety of things, he asked me a question which really I was not expecting. But the question was, tell me, what do you consider to be the greatest joys of being a chaplain on a college campus, and what are the greatest difficulties? The first part of that was easy to answer, and that is working with students like Rachel and Steve and Emily. And that's not always an easy thing to do. As you may be picked up from Emily's sermon, when they arrived at Catawba, Rachel was convinced that I had to be lost because I was so liberal, and Emily knew beyond any doubt that I had to be lost because I was so conservative. But nevertheless, it is a wonderful experience, a wonderful opportunity to work with young men and women like those that you have come to know in Rachel and Steve, and today had an opportunity to hear from in the person of Emily. And it's particularly a joy to come and to share on occasions such as this, not just representing the college, but here to support and be a part, an ongoing part, of the lives of these persons that I've had the opportunity to share with and in so many ways through the years. Rachel, for you, in many ways, this has been a long journey. And I was thinking a couple of weeks ago when we had our annual church college dinner, and we used the clip from that video that was created when we first established the Lilly Center for Vocation and Values at Catawba. And you were one of the first students in that program, and you were featured in that video as the two of us sat in my study and we talked about the questions that you were wrestling with, feeling a possible call to ministry. Rachel had arrived at Catawba, looking at Catawba as that school that would provide her great opportunities to develop herself for the theater and for music, which it does. I'll just be brazen enough to make a commercial here. But seeing the wonderful participation of the youth of this congregation today, I can tell you about a place in North Carolina where you may want to study. And but Rachel came with that in mind. But because of her upbringing and because of who she was, the heart she had, she also realized that God was speaking to her and calling her to use those wonderful talents of theater and music in something more. And we would often sit and talk about those tugs to her heart, those feelings that she was experiencing during that time. And those were wonderful conversations. Sometimes they were trying conversations for both of us, I think, because we truly wrestled with how do we understand God's call upon us and how do we best respond to that call. But after a number of years with study and preparation, you're now an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ. Those dreams, that responsiveness to God's call has been fully realized up to this point, but it's just beginning in many ways. And I want you to know that the faculty and staff, and they all still remember you and have appreciation for you. All of us continue to be with you in our prayers and our thoughts, and to continue to walk that journey with you to what extent we can in supporting you in that way. To this congregation, first of all, it just occurred to me that I don't know whether this was intentional or not, but one of the opening parts of the service today was a reading from Mary Oliver. And on the first day that Rachel was on the Catawba campus, she heard a quote from Mary Oliver, which we use to challenge our students to open themselves to think about what God is calling them to do with their lives. Now to the congregation. You have been given a great gift in Rachel Bahr, and I don't have to tell you that. But I ask that you recognize that gift, that you embrace that gift, that you benefit from that gift. But also remember what Pastor Knight just said, ministry is a partnership. So enter into what is ahead, seeing it as a partnership, receiving the gift that you're given in Rachel's ministry, but also being there as a partner in that ministry. And to that end, I encourage you to encourage her. Encourage her in her ministry. Be receptive to the ideas that she will bring to you as a part of that ministry. Engage in dialogue so that there may be between you an understanding, there may develop a richer understanding of what it is to know God and to make God central in your lives. Allow the prophetic to be heard. Accept the nurturing, the caring, the ways that she will be there for you on God's behalf and sharing with you God's love. But also, as was just mentioned in that red folder that was presented to her, allow her time for family. Allow her time for renewal. Allow her time for reflection so that her walk with God might continue to be enriched and emboldened. And through that, she will serve you well and serve God well. And together, you will experience wonderful ministry in this place. Blessings upon you, Rachel, and upon your ministry.